Hello and welcome to this Mobile World Live webinar on how to launch MVNOs faster. I'm David Pringle, the moderator for today's discussion. So launching a mobile virtual network operator can be delayed by slow integrations, rigid legacy stacks, and heavy upfront investment. So in this webinar, Martin Petkov, Chief Operations Officer of Effortel, and Stefan Banjak, Chief Product Officer of Effortel, are going to explain how its Fractal Multitenancy architecture enables operators to launch, scale, and operate multiple MVNOs inside one modular, reusable BSS environment, crucially without duplicating systems or configurations. So thank you to Martin and Stefan for joining me. We're going to begin with a presentation, and then we'll take audience questions at the end of the webinar. But you can enter those questions at any time using the box on your screen. So now I'm going to hand over to Martin for the presentation.
Thank you, David. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Hello to everyone from the audience. We will be walking you through today through what we believe is an important topic, at least for ourselves. And we will be focusing on something that we call a fractal multi-tenancy and how the fractal multi-tenancy is helping us achieve zero cost migration model, which allows us to scale migrations and scale MVNO launches at a very high volume. So to begin with, I will lay down the problems of the industry today as we see them, and as we collect them from the prospective customers and from the actual customers that we have. We can spend a lot of time discussing what problems the industry has, and there are numerous. But the ones that are laid out here are usually the typical problems that we're facing whenever we're talking about MVNO launches. And the ones that are in our control and that we can help with are the ones typically related to the very lengthy and complex integrations, which can be integrations related to integrations with core networks, but also integrations with internal components or third parties. And that is a domain in itself, which can bring either a lot of benefits or a lot of operational complexities and problems. And in reality, when we're facing new MVNO onboardings, and when the industry is facing new MVNO onboardings, the matters that are related to integrations are the ones that can become very hairy and can very quickly drift the launch away from its expected duration and from its expected benefits. The second typical problem is in the rigidity of the legacy BSS stacks, which in our experience and to our knowledge, is mainly related to the architectural setups that legacy BSS stacks are having, and the complexity of the interrelations between the different components involved in this BSS stacks. The legacy BSS stacks are typically monolithic systems that are encapsulated environments in most of the cases, which are designed and built in a way to enable a typical operation or a particular operation rather, as opposed to enabling a streamline of operations. And last but not least, it's the heavy upfront investment that MVNOs are facing whenever they need to either launch or migrate their operations. And it is largely interrelated with the first two problems that I spoke about in the beginning of this slide. So to sum up here, the problem typically in launching an MVNO or migrating an MVNO is delays that are related to complexity of integration, delays that are related to the way BSS stacks are welcoming new tenants, and last but not least, delays that may be related to funding the actual launch. The way we have decided to approach this problematics is on many different levels and layers. We'll be talking about that in a bit. But to sum it up, we've introduced something that we call Fractal Multitenancy architecture. A fractal, as you know, is a never-ending pattern that repeats itself in different scales, and it can be found in different mathematical equations or in nature. But the way you can find it in our system is by the way we implement tenants and not only MVNOs, but different types of entities across our environment, and the way they represent the whole. The architecture that we have been building through the years is a result of many years of facing real-time situations and a lot of research and development effort intended to deal with real problematics and result in the establishment of an ecosystem that creates the capability of us forking tenants and forking operators with the ease of several clicks that inherit the whole, or that inherit the typical setup of an operator, and that allows to very easily extend and put in use this fractal representation of the typical operator. So in reality, what we have created is a single BSS environment or BSS ecosystem that can host an unlimited number of multiple operators from different types of flavors, and supporting a vast amount of brands and sub-brands and reseller types, and all sorts of manifestations of MVNOs, as well as dealer networks, without cloning and without recreating instances of the BSS environment. It's a single software as a service ecosystem that allows us to create MVNOs on the fly. Stefan, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. Actually, Martin did a great intro, and I'll be diving in more into details. And let me start with facility model, because everything we are about to show you start with a core concept, the facility. And actually, everything in our platform is built around it. Think of it as a complete mini operator that lives inside the platform. It has everything that makes an operator unique. It has a product catalog, pricing, number ranges, dealer hierarchy, workflows, permissions, brand assets, dashboards, you name it. And here's the key. It's 100% self-contained and it's 100% configurable. This means that every facility can operate independently while still benefiting from the shared core, our shared BSS. In other words, we turn the operator into a modular building block. And why do we call them fractals, as Martin introduced the term? Because this pattern, as Martin said, repeats at every level, but each one can look completely different. Same like in nature. The same structure, endlessly replicated, but infinitely customizable. Every facility follows the same blueprint, but each can be tailored to its own identity. That's why in our platform, you can spin up the MVNOs, the brands, the dealers, without duplicating or cloning the system. And whether you zoom in into a single MNO with dozens of MVNOs, or zoom out to our app with multiple tenants, the fractal pattern is always visible. And let me go to the next term, facility tree. The facilities are not standalone nodes, as you can guess. They form a hierarchy that we call a facility tree. So you might have an MNO, under it multiple MVNOs, and under each of the MVNOs you have sub-brands, regions, resellers, dealers, etc., etc. Basically a complete operator tree, all in the same instance. This tree structure means you can manage complex ecosystems without chaos. It's like having a forest of operators, each tree growing independently, but all rooted into the same soil, all running on the same foundational architecture. I need to underline that. This means that we turned our platform into an ecosystem, not a stack of isolated deployments. Now, here is where the magic truly happens: inheritance. We figured out that in most cases, around 70 to 80% of what an operator does is the same across brands or regions. Things like core billing logic, lifecycle rules, workflow engines, policy controls. With inheritance, we define the core once at the parent, then every child facility inherits it instantly. And basically only 20 to 30% that makes each MVNO unique needs to be changed. Things like local pricing, bundles, branding, campaigns, and so on. This is where the speed comes from. No duplication, no re-implementation. And the real breakthrough is what happens when the parent evolves. If we improve something like a policy engine, add a new workflow, or introduce a new API version, every child facility can benefit automatically. It's like issuing an upgrade to the entire operator ecosystem in one stroke. This is how we eliminate the pain of managing dozens of operators at scale. We change once, and the benefit is everywhere. So what that means in practice? It means launching becomes an assembly task, not an engineering marathon. Instead of 9 to 18 or even more months of integration and manual build, what you do, you fork a facility from a template. That facility inherits everything that already works. You adjust only the unique elements, and you go live. Operators using this model are going market in weeks, not months. And because nothing is cloned, there is no technical debt, there are no duplicated maintenance, and no new infrastructure costs piling up in the background. This fundamentally changes the economics of the MVNO launches. Now, that's the concept in theory. Now I want to show you how does it feel in practice. Therefore, I'll share a video. And it seems I need to share the link. Just give me a second. First thing first, I hope you can see the video. This is our administration portal, where the operator can see the full hierarchy of tenants, the entire tree of MNOs and MVNOs operating under one platform. And from here,
Stephanie went on mute.
yeah. So basically, I need to create a facility to select its parent. In this example, that will be the Effortel Communications, and provide some basics like, let me pause, the name, the currency, the billing model, the branding the MVNO will use. We choose on the next step, we will choose the interaction languages, including the default ones, so the customer experience is consistent from the day one. And with that, we are ready for the inheritance. What follows is a guided step-by-step. You choose what will be inherited in terms of the billing cycles, taxation schemes, rounding rules. product setup, interaction templates, and there will be many steps. I'll not go through all of them now, but each one is designed to be fast, intuitive, repeatable. Before completing the setup, we will assign a user to this new facility with correct permissions, and that way, as soon as we log in, which will be done now, we will see the MVNO as they will see it. Here it is. A newly created MVNO loads with its own branding, own identity, inherited automatically. It already comes with inherited products, actually, and with just a few clicks, you can create new ones. At this stage, the MVNO still doesn't have resources, but this can be done very easily with just a few clicks. And I guess you understand that the path from being fully ready to start acquiring subscribers is pretty straightforward. Now let's switch to an existing MVNO in this tree so you can see the contrast. As you can see, the branding is entirely different. What else? This MVNO, has its own regional structure, multiple regions, shops within those regions, and even a reseller. And since this one been live already, there are resources in place, and you can see the differences in available SIM quantities across the regions. In the product catalog aspect, you can see the differences over there. In this facility, Silver Pine Valley, you will see at the beginning tourist-focused products on top of the inherited MVNO catalog. But if we switch back to the root facility, you will notice which products are inherited globally pretty easily. And this is basically the essence of, let me go back to slides, with hope you can see them. Martin, can you just confirm that for me?
Yes, we can.
Good. This is the essence of basically fractal multitenancy. Instant creation, instant inheritance, endless flexibility. Now, to be fully transparent, there is still one step that takes time, and that's the integration with the host MNO core. That's the long pole. Connectivity, signaling, provisioning, those pieces still require integration. But everything else, catalog, workflows, dealer structures, is just fractal expansion. From the second MVNO onwards, you're no longer paying for engineering. You're paying for configuration, and configuration is basically free. This architecture also solves the upgrade problem. In traditional deployments, every MVNO runs on its own version. Upgrades become multi-month projects. Systems drift apart, features fragment. In the fractal model in our architecture, on the day we flip the switch, every single facility, every MVNO, every brand, every dealer, portal wakes up with a new capability. We innovate once, everyone benefits immediately, and there is an entire ecosystem that moves forward together. This means no rollout projects, no version drift, no situation MVNO is on version 7 and MVNO X is on version 4. But inheritance doesn't mean uniformity. Every MVNO keeps its own identity. This means they have unique products, they have local pricing, they have custom workflows, they have their own campaigns and promotions, brand visuals, dealer networks. This basically gives operators the best of both worlds. They have one shared, continuously hardened platform underneath and total brand freedom on the surface. And I know what some of you are thinking right now because we get that question quite often. That sounds amazing, but is my data really safe and separated? The answer is yes, 100%. We have separate database schemas and encryption keys per facility. There are tenant-specific audit trails and consent management. There are no shared tables, no possibility of cross-tenant leakage, and there is independent reporting and analytics domain. This ensures we pass the toughest regulatory audits. And this is because, for us, isolation isn't a policy, it's a design principle. So technically, the model can even host multiple MNOs on one instance. I showed it at the beginning of the video. Commercially, this is rarely acceptable, but it illustrates the power of the architecture. In practice, what we actually see is operators running many MVNOs and brands on a shared core without ever needing additional stacks. There is no architectural redesign, no infrastructure forks, no scaling ceiling. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, a fractal multitenancy, as we call it. Now, let's go back to Martin for the commercial impact and the famous zero-cost migration.
Thank you, Stefan. Wonderfully presented. Indeed, the question here is, what does it mean when we say that there are no migration fees? It's as simple as that. There are no migration fees. Given the fact that our architecture allows us to fork MVNOs with the ease of configuration, with the ease of few steps, inherit the fundamentals, and then create the individual capabilities. And the scale on which we are able to do it today allows us simply to welcome existing MVNOs on our platform without asking them to pay for coming in. So migration fees really means no migration fees. And we believe that by eliminating this blocker, we are simply doing a little bit of a game change in the industry and making it clear that having the right architecture will deliver benefits to everyone. First of all, whenever we are creating a tenant to migrate, we would create and inherit, of course, the automated provisioning flows. We would go through a stage of importing your data, making sense of it, mapping it to our domain model, performing the necessary transformation, and ultimately importing it into our structures. We'll do a catalog mapping. We will map your existing catalog to the product catalog that our platform supports, and we will translate it into a dialogue that our platform understands. We would migrate any templates that you might have. We have pretty sophisticated template management capabilities. So keeping your existing templates that are known to your customers is also guaranteed. We would perform an inheritance of the workflows that are relevant to activation, or sales to activation processes, or any other processes that are relevant to your business, and adapt them to the peculiarities that your business model has. And as Stefan already explained, there are no parallel system builds, there are no provisioning of separate infrastructure, there's no provisioning of separate instances, licenses, and so on. It's just creation of yet another fractal that inherits the capabilities of the whole of the system, and would give you the benefits of nearly immediate launch. The commercial implication, as we see it today, is that our launch time is reduced by our standards to nearly 70% from where we used to be in the past and where we are today. And I'll give you some real-life examples in a bit where you will understand how easy it was. And cut back on the operational overhead with more than 50% of it in some cases, due to the fact that operations is standardized, it's unified, and provisioning of new customers are literally not costing us an increased overhead on our managed services, since we're still supporting the same platform. As Stefan already explained, rollouts of new versions are simply done across all the tenants with a single and simple rollout, which essentially brings very quickly benefits to all of our tenants and all of our clients. And ultimately, this brings to a much lower total cost of ownership in principle. From the real world scenarios, first of all, I'll be talking about two MNOs who are customers of ours. With the first one, we have created something that they call an MVNO factory. And from the moment we introduced our platform in their environment, since they are a wholesale enabler and they have multiple MVNOs, till present, they limited the amount of time necessary to launch new MVNOs to just 2 weeks from the point of time when the work on the MVNO enablement starts, meaning gathering of different types of commercial models that they have to support, sales to activation processes, and ultimately coming to the actual commercial readiness of the MVNO. And this is very easily done by non-technical personnel nowadays who are with few clicks able to create the new MVNO Fractal and able to adapt it to the expectations of the MVNO. So once again, to emphasize the ability to launch virtual operators in this paradigm is narrowed down to just trivial, non-technical work at most. The second real world scenario is for another MNO client of ours who is launching their sub-brands on our platform. And they're what they call branded resellers. And using the facility trees in the Fractal model allows them today to create and manage multiple brands under the same core. And when new products are launched across their commercial network, they can easily select how those products are inherited in their sub-brands, under what names that are inherited in their sub-brands, and essentially streamline the commercial processes which they have in the essence of being able to manage multiple sub-brands and multiple resellers under their main brand. And last recent real-life scenario is where we had to conduct a migration, and it took us a period of about 6 weeks from the start of the mapping exercise of the existing data to the readiness of the business transformation, which means to the point of time when we were ready to take the organization through the process of training them on the new platform, training them on the new capabilities, and getting them ready to swap from their existing supplier to our platform. More details can be provided, of course, upon necessity. We can drill down. We love going into details, so we would love to have, with all of you, a more detailed conversation about this different use cases and many more use cases we have from our practice. We're just very short on time at the moment, so I can't go into more details right now. But to summarize, the Fractal model that Stefan and myself spoke to you about today is all about us being able to achieve very fast MVNO onboarding down to the point where we're calling it an MVNO factory. It gives us the possibility to innovate instantly, meaning that all new releases that we produce are immediately rolled out across absolutely all tenants, so everyone benefits from any new feature that is created on our platform. We have achieved virtually a non-limited scalability. We can fork and launch as many MVNOs as necessary and as many sub-brands as necessary. We can scale our infrastructure as well quite seamlessly to the needs of the MVNOs and the growth of the MVNOs tenants. And at the same time, we're also allowing a unique operator differentiation through the possibility of having your own characteristics under your own fractal. There is no limitation as to how you can differ from the main. Only the creativity and the imagination is the limit in this essence. Zero cost migration is a promise that we're making, and finally, the fractal model allows us to avoid duplicating, triplicating, and quadruplicating, and multiplying the instances of the platform, which is a very common example in the industry, and it limits the abilities of other suppliers to respond to the needs of and the problems that the industry has. David, over to you for questions and answers.
Great. Thanks, Martin. And thanks to Stefan as well for explaining this concept so clearly. As you say, we're moving to the audience Q&A now. You can enter those using the box on your screen if you have questions for Martin or Stefan. So we have a few here already. I think we'll start with you, Stefan. How does Fractal Multitenancy ensure isolation between tenants while still reusing catalogs, workflows, and resource domains? Are there recommended design patterns for balancing reusability and tenant autonomy? So take us through that, Stefan.
That's a good one. I'm not sure how technical I'll be able to explain, but isolation and reusability that were mentioned in the question, if I remember well, are usually at odds in traditional architectures. On our side, I think I talked through that. Isolation is guaranteed by the design of the facility concept. Basically, each facility has its own data schema, own permission model, etc., etc. So this is how we guarantee for the isolation. When it comes to reusability, this is the concept that we cover with the inheritance that I talked about, the configuration of the inheritance layer, where we use the inheritance for things that should be consistent. And we define what can be overwritten and what cannot be. And we allow overriding for everything that creates differentiation and that wouldn't, jeopardize the core principles and logic we have within the tree we talked about today.
Well, there's certain things that are ring fenced and others that are customizable, essentially, and you've drawn a line between the two. Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stefan. Let's move to the next question. Based on Effortel's experience, what parts of the MVNO launch process benefit the most from fractal reusability, and how much does this reduce the typical time to launch compared to legacy models? So you've covered some of this in your presentation, but Stefan, do you want to go again?
Yeah. Well, from our experience, the biggest acceleration comes from removing the repeated engineering work. As I said, the speed comes from this reusability, from the fact that we inherit most of the things, then we just, fine tune it, especially the fact that we expose it in the UI, we make it easy to use and intuitive, makes it fast. Like rebuilding the catalog logic. And I'm here not talking about like commercial offerings per se, but I'm talking about the behaviors, the recreating the workflows, recreating the templates for the end communication towards the end users. Introducing the AI in it. So we have, for an example, for those templates, I can give you an example. If you wanted to tailor your communication as per the language preference of the end user, we can easily, using our AI tools, we can translate that to appropriate language and make sure that the client gets it in the right one. Re-resolving the taxation models and rounding rules, like those are pretty standard, and we don't need to start from scratch. We can just reuse what is there, as well as the entity life cycles, such as subscribers or resources that are pretty standard, I would say, in telco industry. the billing logic as well. We just make sure that this part of the thing is configurable, and that is how we reduce the time. And as I said, from our experience, we are talking about months to weeks or years to months. Of course, it depends on the complexity, whether it's a greenfield or brownfield project, but it's a drastic change, as Martin shared that towards the end of the presentation.
Yeah, I think you mentioned maybe up to 70% or so time saving. So yeah, pretty dramatic. Good, thanks, Stefan. Martin, next one I think for you. Can you explain how Effortel's zero-cost migration model works in practice? What are the risks, prerequisites, and automation steps that enable a cost-free transition without business disruption? It's quite a big question, that, but I'll let you get run with it.
I will answer it shortly. Thank you. Well, how does it work in practice? Theoretically, if you are an existing MVNO and you want to benefit from our capabilities, you would come to Effortel. You would claim your needs, and we'll get you started. What are the prerequisites? What I would say is that, first of all, you need to look at your data. What we see many times is that the data that our prospective customers are bringing to us is, let's say, through time, has experienced certain elements of not being completely tidy, which in reality means that the data is difficult to migrate unless not cleansed. We, of course, help with that with data normalization, with data transformation, tooling that we have. But what I would advise is to firstly look at the data and see what part of it can actually be archived. The second thing that typically happens is the rationalization of product catalogs. We tend to have situations in which prospective customers are coming to us with an existing extensive product catalog that has to be migrated. And despite of the fact that that can easily be done, what we usually advise our clients is to have a look at the how actual the product catalog is and how much of it is actually in use today. And use the opportunity to rationalize the product catalog in a way that you don't inherit in the new platform the products that are not in use anymore, or use the opportunity to let some of your customer base be upgraded to more relevant products that are much more actual to your present state. And finally, the other risks are with the ability of the organization to absorb new ways of working and new tools, essentially, that come with any platform change. And that's where we come also in the picture with our streamlined training, with the various environments that we have through which we allow the end users to get acquainted with the platform, with our training team that looks after the readiness of the organization to start working with the new tooling. And we just stay next to our customer along this journey to make sure that it's a transition that is happening as smooth as possible for them.
Yeah, I guess you can draw on quite a lot of experience of previous customer engagements to do that. So good. No, thanks for taking us through that. Might stay with you for the next one, Martin. What are the critical components of BSS modernization that MVNOs should focus on to enhance their operational capabilities? So yeah, this is what's the main focus areas? What are the critical things to be aware of?
Do you want me to take this one, Martin?
You can share it.
I got triggered by it because recently we were doing some fine tuning on the product vision, and basically this resonates with it quite a lot, because actually the strategic decisions we have over there are related to the critical components of BSS, of the modern BSS, right? So there are a lot of things, but I would like to highlight a few of them, having in mind the time. First thing first, I think the BSS should be designed so it allows ease of operation. I mentioned it before. This means that the things should be intuitive and configurable, because nobody wants to wait for the code change. They want to have things in the UI to configure themselves, or we to configure for them, but to do that fast and not wait for it. Because, while you're waiting, the market is not sleeping, and you might be missing for some opportunities. So I think this is the first thing that is important. The second thing is that there should be automation mechanisms to support most common workflows, and not only most common, but also the ones on the margin. There should be real-time insights backed up with intelligence, because from our research, the way people interacted with technology now is changing a lot, and people now often go to popular agents and not Googling the things, and they expect a similar experience on the tools they're using. So there should be an intelligence, and there should be always an option for users to act on that intelligence right away. Of course, I don't need to mention it when we are in telco, that intelligence, like anything else, should be real-time, instant, so it's not outdated. And while on the topic of telco, what is always important, like in any industry, but in telco, I would say pretty much is the reliability, in terms of the being able to scale the system, but also to make sure there is no downtime at any point of time. We should be focusing on 5 nines availability. So if I can keep it short, I think these are the things that are critical to name one BSS a modern one. If Martin wants to add something to it.
I would only add one point, and it's the question of observability. You need to design your BSS architecture and components that are involved in it in a way that every transaction that passes through them is observable, meaning that it's recorded somewhere, a system of record, as it passes through the various components. You need to see what happened with that transaction. You need to understand how it went through all of the components comprising the final solution, how long it took that transaction to go from component A to component B, C, D, and etc., and understand the entire round trip of the transaction, the journey and life cycle of each and every transaction. When you have that data, you can significantly improve the observability of your entire stack, and draw some very good conclusions of where are your bottlenecks, what takes you most time, what can be made more efficient, and as well proactively resolve some problems that occurred with the transactions of the end users before they understand that they had them, or act proactively and resolve them and inform them that they were resolved. So the question of observability, I think, is a very important matter when designing your BSS stack to respond to the needs of the modern data expectations.
Yeah, so potentially a lot of insights from that if you use it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. Next question. So we could start an MVNO business from scratch with this platform. But do we need to sign a separate agreement with an MNO, or does Effortel already have in place such an agreement? There is a second question, but let's start with that one.
Okay. This is an important question. We are an enabler. We are not an aggregator, meaning that the MVNOs should have a wholesale agreement with the mobile network operator in place. We can definitely assist with that because we have plenty of experience of what are the important parts of negotiating a good wholesale deal, what needs to be the profitability of the MVNO, what should be the target margin that the MVNO needs to ask for, and what are the very typical things where you need to put special emphasis in your MNO relationship. So we can assist with that. We have very wide connections and network of connections in the MNO industry, so we can introduce you to wholesale directors and wholesale departments, and just walk you through the process of getting a wholesale contract with a mobile network operator. So yes, you would need to have such a contract, and we can help out big time with getting it in place.
Yeah. Okay, very clear. Thank you, Martin. So the second question here is probably going to have to be our final one, actually, but it's quite short. It's definitely, you can pick this up probably, is related if your platform is supporting the Italian language. Does it support Italian?
It absolutely does. Actually, we have, if the question is coming from the same person, we actually have very good agreements with MNOs in Italy. And we do have clients in Italy, some quite successful MVNOs. And therefore, not only that, the interaction towards the end users can be in Italian, our whole UI is, okay, not only in Italian, our whole UI experience can be in English and many other languages, but Italian is among them. So it does support. And okay, besides the language, we are very well aware of the regulations and specifics of the Italian market. We are being on that market for over a decade, I think. And
more than 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
As Stefan, as you earlier mentioned, in terms of multilingual capabilities, we are using AI in order to translate our platform to any language. It literally supports any language in this world. But as Stefan already mentioned, Italian is already put in practice for many MVNOs that we support in Italy. And getting started in Italy will be actually a very, very simple exercise.
Yeah. So essentially, you've got a global proposition here you're supporting.
Indeed.
Yeah. Quite operators around the world. Right. Now, well, thank you, gentlemen. The MVNO market is obviously very hot right now with eSIM and other factors driving it. So it's been really interesting to hear about the way that you can get into this market and how quickly you can approach it. So you can learn more about that by looking in the resources tab, where there is a white paper that talks a little bit more about this architecture and the benefits of it. So have a look at that in the resources tab. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank Stefan and Martin for taking us through that very clearly and taking those questions as well. I'd like to thank you, the audience, for your time and attention. You can watch a replay of this webinar back through the Mobile World Live website, so you can look out for that and catch any of the nuances or details you missed. But thanks once again for your time and attention.
Thank you as well, David. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.